I do just like a really short grounding meditation. And then I let them ask their question, and it's more like a conversation. They tell me their question. I get the answers and tell them what I'm getting. And everybody's different. It's really kind of cool. Like sometimes I'm given a question to ask the person.
Caring for others is part of your life, but it's not all of it. This is your space for growth, confidence, and connection to the whole you. Welcome to the DaliTalks podcast. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dali, your host of the DaliTalks podcast, and today my guest is Dr. Susan Edkins. Dr. Edkins is the founder of Dragonfly Integrated Health, where she helps women navigate grief and life transitions through guided meditation and nervous system support. Let me just say that I have received some of her services and she's incredible, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So, Susan, I can call you Susan, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's weird calling you doctor because we've been on Susan and
I
Dali
know.
for so long, but yeah, but you earned it. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dolly, for inviting me to be here with you today.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to find out about what you do. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into your work and what led you to create Dragonfly Integrated Health.
Okay, so I have been a college instructor for 35 years, and my background is in athletic training, so a medical profession. And I transitioned from practicing to teaching students how to become athletic trainers, which is why I went back and got my doctoral degree. But 5 years ago, I lost my husband unexpectedly, and it shifted everything in my world. Obviously, that loss is tremendous, but it made me, question everything that I knew about life and death. And I just started learning as much as I could to try to understand and process losing him. And that eventually led me to discovering energy medicine. And then I knew that I wanted to learn how to do that. And I decided to start a business.
Energy medicine is really interesting. That's something that I too have found in the last probably 5 years as well. And I'm understanding so many different modalities that I'd never heard of. And I think I still need to learn more. But what really caught my attention when I met you is that you do Reiki, hypnotherapy, and you mentioned something called Akashic Records. So
Yes,
can you explain to us a little bit about that, please?
I can. So it's kind of funny because I had never heard of the Akashic Records before. And since my husband died, and as I've been on this journey of learning, things will from time to time pop up in my awareness. And the Akashic Records just kept popping up. And so I finally looked into what it was, and I mean, I probably worked with them for a couple of years before I fully understood. So the way that I look at it is a field of consciousness. And it is really a record of everything that our soul has ever experienced through all of our different lifetimes, past, present, and future. And I think one of the hardest concepts for me to wrap my head around is the fact that everything's happening at once. So time is a construct and everything is occurring at once. And you kind of have to understand that or accept it at least to fully understand the Akashic Records. So it's a field of infinite possibilities, kind of like a database of all the things that our soul has ever experienced. And when we tap into that field of consciousness, we can get answers from the guardians of the records. Um, those are masters, teachers, and loved ones who have passed away. and who are in spirit now. So it's really cool. It's literally like a little database that you can go into, you ask questions, and the guardians use all of the information about your soul, your past, your present, your future, what you're here to do, the lessons you're here to learn, and all of that as context when they answer questions.
That's really, really very interesting. And I know that a lot of people who might hear this might not believe in it because they're like, oh, this is like craziness. I feel like there's so many mysteries in the world that anything's possible. And yeah, I don't believe in like religion like that. I believe in energy, like the
Yes.
actual powers of the universe. And so
Hmm.
as you're saying that, I was like, I'm thinking like we all carry energy. And that's what we become again. Like, well, I mean, we're always energy, but we're just like we have a shell of a body.
Yeah,
So as you're saying that, I'm like, to me, it makes sense because I feel like this is just a temporary shell, and then we become fully energy once again whenever, we shed this body. And the possibility of everything happening all at the same time, I'm not doubtful of that. I remember actually when I was very, very little, I had a moment that I still remember to this day where it's like my consciousness, like I stopped what I was doing and I was like, wait a minute, everything's happening. Like, how can that be all at the same time, like in a massive scale? It just clicked, right? I think I was 7 or something like that. So
yeah,
when I met you and you were telling me that, I was like, that memory came. I was like, oh my gosh, could it have been that I was like somehow wise enough at that age to recognize,
yeah.
wait a minute, there's like all these things happening at the same that is incredibly powerful and confusing at the same time.
It is. It really is. Kids are much more tapped in and in tune with things than we are. So, one of the things that I've thought about in the last few years is kids who had imaginary friends.
Hmm.
They're probably seeing people who are across the veil, and we just can't see them. The kids are much more open
Yeah.
than adults are. We kind of forget. And honestly, what I've learned in the last 5 years is we have all the answers inside of us. We just have to remember what they are.
Yeah.
And the different modalities that you talked about, they're all different ways of doing the same thing essentially, and tapping into that inner wisdom, and whatever works for
Yeah.
people, I think is what's meant for them to work with.
Right. I agree. I agree. The like prayer. And I
Yes.
know a lot of people get upset when I say this, but I think that prayer is pretty much, meditation in a different
Yeah.
form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I heard someone say along the way somewhere, and I don't remember who it was, but what they said was that prayer is asking for what you want, and meditation is listening for the answers to those
Mm.
prayers.
Hmm.
And that kind of clicked with me. And yeah, so I think that depending on your perspective and your background, your religious background or not, it's all really the same thing. We're connecting with something greater than us. I
Right.
believe we're all connected. Um,
Yeah, I truly believe that too, because I think I believe that we're pretty much like this energy, universal energy.
yes.
But tell me, when you talk to people of faith about this, do you have pushback, or can people exist with their faith and believing in Akashic records and things like that?
That's a great question. I haven't really had a conversation with somebody who really pushed back, but I also haven't really pushed it.
Hmm.
So, like, one of the things that I've accepted over the last few years is that it's not my responsibility to make somebody to believe something that they don't believe in. And there's things that I just No, I just know deep in my bones that it's something that I'm supposed to be working with, something I'm supposed to be doing. And I just really felt like when I started studying the Akashic Records, it was kind of like a piece of the puzzle that clicked in, and I felt like it was the key kind of to all the other things I had been learning.
Mhm.
And it was the thing that was going to bring all the different modalities together.
Right, yeah. So how does this Akashic Records practice, I guess you could call it? How does it work?
There's different levels of it. You can ask questions in the records. So if I'm working one-on-one with a client, they can have questions that they give me permission in the process to open up their records, and then I am asking the questions and I'm getting the information. So everybody gets information in different ways. I just hear it in my head, not hear it like with my ears. It's like I'm channeling
Yeah.
what I'm getting. And so I'll say, there are many times that it makes no sense to me, but the person that I'm giving the response to was like, oh, that completely makes sense. So, I've had to learn to kind of take myself out of it and just let it flow through me. And then they can ask additional questions. I've also learned how to utilize the records in energy healing. And that's really cool too.
Yeah. So then when you're telling people what it is you're hearing, I want to make this clear for people because some people might interpret that as like you being a psychic,
Oh, yeah.
which that's not what you're doing. Nobody can
No.
predict the future.
No, and that's a really important distinction.
Mhm.
The using the records is not about trying to predict the future. It's really about getting guidance in the moment. And I think thank you for making that distinction because that's not what it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I had to make sure I ask the questions because I know there's going to be a lot of pushback with some people who have never heard of this and might not be so open to
Yeah, and
receiving.
that's
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just something that's outside some people's comfort zone. And, I was in medicine, so I was very analytical, and I've had to learn over the last few years that there's some things that you just can't intellectualize, that I've just had to choose to believe something that felt right for me, felt true to me, and trust. So
So do most people who practice Reiki also practice this reading of Akashic records?
no, they're two separate. There is crossover. What I've seen is that a lot of people experience Reiki first,
Mhm.
and that's kind of like their gateway, for lack of a better term, or their introduction into energy medicine. And that was the case for me. One of the things that I noticed is that I was going to these different grief groups that first year after my husband died. I tried three different groups. And I would notice as I was sitting in the group that my legs would start to hurt, and they would ache, and then I felt like they needed to move. And then in the last group that I did, um, I was so uncomfortable that I wanted to bolt out of the room, but I also didn't want to make a scene. And so I just, moved my legs as much as I could under the table. And then when I left, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go back to that.
Mhm.
And it bothered me enough, like they would hurt for the rest of the night. So I talked to my doctor, who was a functional medicine provider, and she said, it sounds like you have stuck energy. I was like, what's that?
Mhm.
And she's explained the chakras, which I had heard of, but I just didn't really fully know or understand. And she explained how the root chakra is your foundation. And when you have a huge loss like that, it makes your foundation unsteady. And that the root would go to your legs. And so she said it made sense. And would I be open to trying Reiki? I said, I've heard of it, but I really don't know what it is. But at this point, I'm willing to try just about anything. And so she recommended a Reiki practitioner. I did my research. I decided that I was going to try it. And the first time I went, I could feel things shifting and I couldn't explain it. I was laying flat on the table. I felt like my legs were up higher. At one point, my body felt like it was sideways. I even opened up my eyes to look and see, I'm like, okay, no, I'm laying flat. So I could feel the energy moving. I just didn't understand what it was at that point. And
Right.
I knew that when I was done that day, I felt better. And ultimately, that was what was the most important thing for me. So I went back 2 weeks later and had another session. And in that session, I decided I want to learn how to do this and I want to use this to help other people like me who have tried lots of different things and nothing really helped. So I just felt lighter. I
Mm-hmm.
felt um, just a little bit happier. And at that point, any little bit of happiness was a really good thing.
Yeah.
So I just trusted that it was helping me.
Right. Yeah. This is so interesting. I'm going to ask more basic questions. Some I already know the answers to, but for the purpose of,
Yeah.
my listeners. So would you please explain where Reiki came from or how it originated as well as the Akashic Records?
Yeah. So I don't know if I can explain the Akashic Records origination. It's just, I think just it is an energy field.
Mhm.
I think some people, when they tap into them, they see it as a library. So a lot of times, like the images that you'll find online, it looks like a library and like the book of life.
Oh.
I think that may be mentioned in the Bible,
Hmm.
but I'm not 100% sure. But that it is kind of like a book. I don't see it as a library, although early on, before I knew what it was, I did see when I was meditating. I saw what looked like a library and I didn't understand what it was at that point. Now I really see it more as like I feel like I'm in space, like in a quantum field or there's a lot of blackness, but it feels like I'm in space somewhere.
So darkness and
Yeah. So, and it can be anything, everybody experiences it slightly differently.
Mhm.
Um, Reiki was developed, and there's different forms of Reiki. I'm definitely not an expert, but it, I think, originated in Japan.
Mm.
And there's been different teachers of different forms of Reiki, but it really is tapping into the life force energy, the key, and and it's really kind of going through me. It's not my energy. I'm tapping into it and letting it flow through me.
Right. Yeah. And you know what I find so interesting is that these modalities, especially Reiki, is becoming more and more accepted in the medical field. I mean, you
Yes.
go to WebMD and it's there. Like it'll
Yeah, well,
explain.
I was going to say that Reiki is one of the most researched types of energy medicine.
Oh,
Duke University, I'm in North Carolina, so I'm not too far from Duke University, and they have like a center for integrative health or something like that. They teach Reiki. I've got a couple friends who have trained in medical Reiki where they're in an operating room or they're providing Reiki. And then there's a whole type, and right now I can't think of what it's called, but I think it's healing touch that is practiced by a lot of nurses and used with a lot of cancer patients. So there's a ton of research on Reiki showing the benefits. And I gave a presentation at a medical conference about a year ago. And so I did a lot of this research at that point to, to be able to try to understand. My intent was really just to introduce like Reiki and acupuncture and meditation
Yeah.
to these practitioners because they're the three most commonly used strategies, modalities, whatever, in a more mainstream medicine
Hmm.
um,
Yeah. But
format.
yeah, I really like it. The first time I heard of it, I didn't really understand it, but I had a pretty powerful positive result from it. Um, and I know people have used it for pain, anxiety, depression,
Yes.
like deeper, like cancer, which is
Yep.
incredible. So I think that part of it is the way that I like to, when I have conversations with my friends, the way that I like to explain it is, you know how some people say, well, if you're constantly telling yourself that, say like that you're hungry, then you're gonna be hungry because
Mm.
you're sending those messages to your whole body. I feel like Reiki's like that, right? Like where we have the power, that energy that shifts in different parts of the body, and then somebody who knows how to help you shift that energy can shift it where it needs to be or
Yeah.
your
And
whatever.
part of it is um, two thoughts just came up. Part of it is just the connection between the practitioner and the person receiving the Reiki, like a coherence between our hearts,
Right.
our biofields. Like we have a biofield around each of us, and when our biofields interact, um, when you do Reiki, you set an intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I always set the intention that it is for the client's highest good. Okay. Um, but just that focused on the positivity, like you're saying, can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the studies that they've done, they used actors and they called it Sham Reiki. So the person who was doing it, they were taught like what the movements might look like, but they didn't know what they were doing. And there was some benefit. So some of it is just the connection between the two human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of it is the actual energy, like my energy field and your energy field interacting with one another. And
Yeah.
honestly, early in my grief, I liked that I could do this and I didn't have to examine what each and everything that was coming up was. I could just let it come up, shift that energy, and let it go without having to, look at my grief that day or talk about my grief that day or, whatever.
Yeah.
I want to go back and just make one thing clear. I think that the Reiki that was used on cancer patients was not to try to treat the cancer, although that could have happened for some people. It was more about the pain, the controlling the nausea and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. We don't
Um,
want to have people
I
think, oh
know.
my gosh, the cure to
I don't
cancer.
want to make any claims that it's,
Right.
curing things.
Mhm.
There was something else that came up but I can't think of what it is. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love how you've explained it because I see it as uh, uh, the energy fields, right? Like we all have it. And I think like some people who don't believe it, I always tell them, well, think of a moment where maybe as a child or as an adult, you like stepped into a room, you didn't know what
Oh
was
yeah,
going on
yeah,
into that room, and then you felt something
yeah.
because of whoever was in there. Maybe you walked into somebody who had just been in an argument or something, and then you have
Hmm.
no idea what's going on, but you feel it. Or like I remember as a kid, I was introduced to somebody in the family and I was like, something about them.
Uh-huh. Something feels
That's
off.
right. That is
Yeah.
energy. And I feel like Reiki is the practice that most of us do not learn, which is pretty much to read our own energy. Some people
Yeah.
might call it intuition.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've learned how my energy triggers my nervous system.
Yes.
And that is so powerful. Like I tell you, when I learned of this, and this was through Candace, which is how
Yep.
you and I met, because we
Yep.
ended up at that same retreat. Things have been so different ever since. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect and like I know how to like control everything because I have reached out to you for some hypnotherapy, which was
Yeah.
amazing. But that's that's why I believe in it, and I wanted you to come on here and explain, talk more about how you help people. So we've spoken about the Akashic Records and the Reiki, and you do hypnotherapy.
I
That's
do.
another one that I would love for you to explain and to like debunk the stereotypes or misunderstandings about it, because
Okay.
people hear hypnotherapy and again they're like, oh my gosh, she can read my mind or she can control my
No.
mind.
No. Basically, the way that I practice hypnotherapy, it is like a deep meditative state. You still can talk to me. Basically what we're doing is we're bypassing the conscious mind that is trying to shut us down. Our conscious, not really shut us down, trying to protect us, really. And honestly, that's what's going on with our nervous system too. But we can come back to the nervous system. So hypnotherapy bypasses that conscious mind to access the subconscious mind. I believe that that's where all of the answers to all of the questions that we ever could have are held in our subconscious mind. But it's not very active most of the time. And so we have to get that barking dog, that constant chatter of our conscious mind, we have to get it out of the way. And sometimes, if people really struggle with it, I literally ask them to imagine taking it and putting it on their shoulder, and we'll come back and get it again at the end. And I was one of those people. Again, I've been a skeptic going into most of these practices,
Mhm.
but I felt positive benefits from them, and it convinced me that, that there was something to it. One of the things that I'm working on, one of the projects I'm working on right now is creating some longer meditations. Most of the meditations that I have right now are short. And that is because I didn't like to sit for a long meditation. I was a skeptic with meditation to begin with as well. I thought I had to, sit still for an hour and I couldn't have a single thought. And, I had to chant and have my hands in a certain position. And I learned that that's not true. It's not about clearing your mind. What the meditation does is bring you into the present moment to allow your nervous system to settle down. So, one of the projects I'm working on right now is creating longer meditations that have subconscious affirmations in them. So I use the music to bypass the conscious mind. You can listen to it when you're going to sleep at night. And if you fall asleep, it's okay because it's still going to get to your subconscious. And then it has like the positive affirmations. In 1 hour of music like that, it would be like saying those affirmations out loud for, a month or more. So it's a way of bypassing and accelerating your growth.
I love that. I'm for it. I love meditations like that, and I've tried yours, and I still play
Yeah,
them, when I need. And that's one thing that I'm glad you mentioned, that they're shorter, and versus the longest one, because I have found that when I'm like really frustrated and I need a little quick, like
yeah.
meditation, like just get it out of the way. And I know something that sounds horrible, get it out of the way, but
No,
sometimes
no.
you need it to just like right there in that moment, and then you need to, I guess, take care of other stuff. But then I've been wanting those long ones with that it's I think it's called like subdued meditation, I something like that, where the music
Okay.
plays, but then there's like voices in the background and you don't really hear
Mm-hmm.
them clearly, but like
Yep.
it's there because I also believe in the power of like the vibrations that come out of your mouth. And I think people who listen to The Secret or read the book might know about this or have heard about it, but it makes sense, right? That what we speak out, and actually Bruce Lee, because I was reading his daughter's book a few months ago, she mentioned something about this in the book where Bruce Lee used to always say, don't ever speak, badly about yourself because the vibration that comes out of our own body in those words is sent out to the universe, and that is what
Yes.
like makes things manifest. So
Yes.
why would you say bad things about yourself? So,
Yeah. And that's something that as humans we do that. So many of us do that. And if we can shift that thinking, that's kind of the concept behind manifestation, as I understand it too, is that you talk about things as if they've already happened. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake. That's why a dream or a TV show can have such an impact on you. And we should watch what we consume
yeah,
in music, in television, in books, in, the people we hang out with and have conversations with, because again, that is putting that vibration out there into the universe, and where your energy flows, then that's what we're trying to bring towards us
right.
too. So we sometimes bring the negative stuff towards us by accident.
Mhm.
Going back to what you said about the short practices and getting them done, sometimes that's what we need. And I actually just designed a course. It's for women who are going through a major life transition. It could be grief, it could be a loss of a job, it could be all of a sudden you're empty nest, maybe a divorce, whatever. Because those transitions put our nervous system into fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
And that is really what is the key, is the nervous system.
Right.
So I I needed short practices, things that I could do throughout the day. If I was sitting in the car while my son was at soccer practice, or I was in the carpool line, I could do something quickly. So like breathing techniques and different grounding techniques and meditation. And I really want to teach women in particular, but I really want to teach people that meditation doesn't have to be this long, drawn out process.
Yeah.
It's really about making your body feel comfortable enough that it can relax and become steady again. So I designed the course that I wish I had had early in my grief.
Yeah.
And it uses, kind of all the things that we've talked about, but helping people understand that you can feel steady again, and it doesn't have to take hours and hours a day.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. So when is this course going to become available?
So it will, the first live course will be on July 15th. I am recording them. It's 4 weeks. So they're not 4 consecutive weeks, 2 weeks in July and 2 weeks in August. But I'm sure I will run it again, but I'm going to also record. So if people can't attend live, they're going to be on Wednesday evenings from 7:30 to 9 Eastern time.
Okay,
But I
perfect.
realize that may not work for everybody, and it is summertime. So
Yeah, it is. But like people who are looking for something for relief or so, something, they'll attend. And that's a good time, 7 p.m.
yeah,
The kids are
yeah,
doing their own thing. And yeah. So I must go back to the Akashic Records thing because for me, that is still the thing that I'm trying to better understand. And
yeah,
honestly, I don't even know what to ask. But when you, I guess I could start with when you're helping people with this Akashic Records, is it like a meditation? How does it
So
work?
I started out where I have them kind of calm down, close their eyes. I do just like a really short grounding meditation. And then I let them ask their question, and it's more like a conversation. They tell me their question. I get the answers and tell them what I'm getting. And everybody's different. It's really kind of cool. Like sometimes I'm given a question to ask the person, but usually it's like a conversation. And then I ask, do you have questions about that? That a follow-up question. And honestly, the coolest thing is that we get what we need to hear. It's not always what we want to hear. And sometimes it's asking us to, make a change either in our perspective or in our behaviors, but you really could use it for anything. Um, I did channel a message this morning through the Akashic Records specifically for your audience.
Oh, okay. I want to
Can
hear
I
it.
read that?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So I asked what Dali's listeners need to hear about or from the records. And this is what I got. When we open ourselves to all the possibilities, the sky is the limit. Open your eyes, ears, and heart to what is going on around you. I'm getting chills. Look and listen for things that are supportive and loving. When we focus on the positive, we see it amplify. You can be the change you want to see in the world. Small things matter. What seems like no big deal to you can be the thing that completely changes someone else's trajectory. Keep making a difference in your part of the world, and we will see the ripples throughout.
Hmm.
So it kind of ties together some of the things we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I hope that people replay that and really take in every single word because it is absolutely true. You have to be open to receive for anything, first of all. That's the foundation.
Yeah,
And yeah, yeah, listen to yourself. It's so, yes. I wish, especially people going through something super, super hard, because I mean, I know you're gonna have the live course, which is great because it'll be live and they'll get the experience of asking you questions right there
yeah,
and then they'll have the experience of playing it back, later.
yes,
Um, and sometimes when we receive something, we hear it and we love it, but then later it kind of sinks in deeper and it can bring up other things. And so that's
yeah,
the benefit of like, being able to have you available to reach out to.
yeah.
Yeah. So with this course, can you tell us a little bit more exactly what people will learn in it?
Yeah, so it's going to start out with the understanding the nervous system and why the nervous system is important in all of this. We'll also talk about triggers and how to manage triggers. And then we're going to look at some different strategies, practical strategies that you can implement on a daily basis to help kind of calm the nervous system down. Um, I'm going to give you an example, like a personal example. My son was really, both of us were sick last week, but he was much worse than I was. And we were, had been at urgent care and we were going to get medicine. He had lost 11 pounds in one day, which was insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had just left the urgent care and we're driving to pick up the medicine. And I drove over, like there was this huge pop. And I forgot about it by the time because I was, thinking to get the medicine, get him something to drink, get him home. So I went in, dropped the prescription off. I come out and the tire is just as flat as it can be. And I go over and look at it, and there's a literal wrench sticking out of my tire. And it's not the handle part that's sticking out. It's the like the part that you would put around the bolt.
Uh-huh.
So I had driven over a wrench, and it
Oh.
was a major road, like,
Mhm.
four
You literally
lane. I drove over a wrench. And my first instinct was like, oh, I just wanted to cry. And then I thought, okay, that's not going to be super helpful in this moment. I took a breath, I calmed myself down, and then I went into action mode. If that had happened a few years ago, I probably would have like fallen apart, and I would have just really struggled to do what I needed to do. But I started calling friends. I did think about you, Dolly, because you told me that you knew how to change a tire.
Mhm.
And one of my girlfriends came and got me started, and then another one of the soccer dads came and helped us ultimately get it done. But yeah, it's always great to have a network of people. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about you and thinking that I really needed to learn how to change a
It's
tire.
okay. Had I if I lived close enough, I definitely would
I
have
know.
gotten it done
Hey,
for you.
I would have been calling you on FaceTime if
Yeah.
I hadn't had people who could come and say, all right, I'm going to
Anytime.
do it. You got to walk me through it.
Yeah. Anytime. Yeah, that's a great example. And I feel like that's what so many people need right now because the world feels like it's on fire.
It
And
does.
sometimes the fire's not just around us, but it is inside our homes. And
Yeah.
we need whatever it takes to help ourselves.
Yep.
So I hope that people take advantage of this opportunity. Where can they go ahead and register for the
Um, so I have a link to a website that I can send you.
okay.
They also could reach out to me on Instagram. It's Dr. Susan Edkins, EDD, on Instagram. And in fact, if they will follow me and send me a DM, I'll send them a free meditation
Mhm.
through Instagram. So
Yeah.
that's the best place to get in touch. I also on the website that I have, it's called Calm the Overwhelm. And I have an email address on there too. And it's just Susan at dragonflyintegratedhealth.com.
All right, wonderful. Is there anything else that people should know about either Reiki, hypnotherapy, or Akashic Records that you would like them to understand?
I think the biggest thing is to trust your gut, trust your intuition. If you're drawn to something, you're being drawn to it for a reason. And it doesn't have to be one of those things. It could be something else, like sound healing, or there's just so many different things out there. They all, I think what I want them to most know is that they all have the same core um, effect.
Hmm.
Okay. And it's about getting us in touch with ourselves, calming our nervous system down, because when we can calm the nervous system down, then we're able to be more present and less reactionary. And honestly, with your message, the more people we can have being centered and less reactionary, the better.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And this is not limited to anybody by age, right? It can be a teenager that might be interested
Yeah.
or an adult.
Yeah.
Right?
So there is a caveat with the Akashic records. I won't go into the records if they're under 18.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But if a parent was trying to help a child, you can't ask about somebody else's records, but you could ask, like, what would be the best way for me to support my son right now or my daughter, or how can I help them, during this difficult time of their life? Because it's about us and not about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing. If they're under 18, I won't open their records.
Okay. Wow. Susan, thank you so much. Thank you for not just explaining it, but also for helping other people because those people's energies impacts my energy.
Yeah,
Even though I don't know who they are. I mean, I might bump into them when I go take my kid out to, I don't know, somewhere. But I really do believe, like what you said, we are all connected through this energy that we all carry. And so your success or your sadness or whatever it is you're going through, I feel like will somehow impact me. I feel like that's really what's happening in the world right now.
it
Everybody's
is.
feeling, you know,
And if we can focus on the positive things, there's so many people who are doing amazing things, and it doesn't have to be something that the whole world sees. It literally can just be that tiny act of kindness that you give some kind of a, some stranger or a loved one. But, it really does have that ripple effect.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Susan. I hope
Thank
that
you,
people reach out
Dali.
to you. All right.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come today. I always love our conversations.
Me too. We're gonna have some more, hopefully in person here in the near
Yes.
future.
Hey, did you like that episode? I have an ask. Would you mind leaving me a review? It would really help me improve this podcast so that you can come back and keep listening. Also, don't forget to check me out at DaliTalks.com and follow me on social media at DaliTalks. Until next time.